So I've drawn out a really basic house in pencil really fast, and I held the pencil quite far back to help make it loose and a bit wobbly and not too perfect. And I'm now going to pen it in with a fine liner. This is a 0.1 size fine liner. Okay, so I'm now going to paint the whole of the front of the house, or most of it, in a very pale colour. I'm going to leave the bit round the windows. I'm not going to paint that because that's going to be white, and when things are white in watercolour, it tends to be the white of the paper that shows up rather than using white watercolour paint. However, you can use white watercolour paint if you want. So I'm not being too careful here because I'll be going over this area with dark colours for the door. Okay, and I'm going to drip in a little bit more saturated colour. It's a little bit pale just now. Because it's still wet, it will all just blend in. If it was nearly dry, then I might get some sort of weird watercolour blooms, which happen when your watercolour paint is nearly dry and then you add more water to it. These are called cauliflowers. So, and I've been able to paint this while this paint up here is wet because there's a band of dry watercolour paper there that has no paint on it. Otherwise, these two colours would blend into each other and you don't really want that. I'm going to paint up here the chimney as well, just the background colour. I'm going to paint brickwork on top of these, but this will just give us a base colour, and there'll be darker colours going on top. So I'm just going to paint the darker colour along the top here. As you can see, I've just painted beside the chimney, and the chimney's still wet, so that dark colour has just bled into the chimney. It's really not so important with this painting though, because it's quite a rough painting and the colours are all very, very neutral and very natural, so it's okay. But if you were trying to make something a little bit more perfect, you would never paint wet paint next to other wet paint if you wanted them to be completely different colours. So I'm going to go in just now with a shadow underneath the roof here. Sometimes when I'm painting, because I'm videoing, I haven't got my image at the angle that I would want to get a sharp line. I would normally turn my paper round to get the sharp edge that I'm looking for, but because I'm videoing, my setup makes it a little bit more complicated, and so I can't really do that. However, there's my shadow, and while it's still wet, I'm going to wash the paint off my brush and go back in with a wet brush that has no colour on it and just bleed it down. Like so. And I'll wash the colour off the brush again and bleed it down again. This is bleeding down a wee bit far, so I'll put it up a little bit. So I'm just going to edge these windows in a darker colour, as the light wouldn't be hitting them in the same way as it's hitting the front of the house. So I'll just edge them like that. And I'll do the same with the door frame. I haven't decided what colour to paint the door yet. Maybe I'll paint it in a kind of red or a dark red. Oh, and I will do the same with this up here. That was a little bit risky there because I can see the paper is still wet there, so the brown could bleed. However, it's okay. Okay, we're going to do the door red, so I'm going right in here. It's quite an intense colour. That colour is called Indian red, and it's a very, very saturated colour, more so than the majority of my paint colours. So what I may do is, because that is such a dark saturated colour, I'm going back into the brush. I've washed the colour out of the brush, so the brush is just damp, and I'm going to push some of the colour up because I want the door to be darker up at the top than it is at the bottom. So I'm just pushing some of that colour up like that. It just gives a wee glow. You can see the white of the paper coming through there. Okay, I'm going to go in and just darken these windows now. So it's not a very detailed house and the windows are tiny, so I'm not going to put detail inside the windows. And I will darken this little window up here as well. Right, I'm going to be painting in some of the brickwork, so I'm going to mix some browns. So I've got browns ready. So I've got a couple of different browns there, and I've got Payne's grey here. So if I have all these colours ready on the palette, various browns and greys, then I can just grab some different colours very, very quickly by combining some of these. So I haven't outlined any bricks. I'm just going to roughly paint some brick shapes in. In my mind, this is a very old house, so it's not a correctly bricked house. It's just got stone with some kind of mortar in between in a quite messy way. Okay, and the paper's still a tiny wee bit wet up at the top, so it's bleeding a little bit. It's okay. I'm going to grab paler colour as well, put some paler bricks in there. So they're actually more like stones, natural stones, rather than bricks. Can you hear my cat meowing in the background? She's been neglected while I do this. So I'm just putting these bricks in randomly. They're not following a pattern of any sort, and they're different sizes as well. Oh, here she comes. Give me some attention, Mum. Okay, I'm going to go back up to the chimney and darken this side of the chimney. Oh. Too much paint on my brush there. So I'll get the paint off and I'll dry my brush ever so slightly and pull that out. So over here. So this one has blended in, this pot has blended in with the stack. So once that dries, I'll try and make something a bit darker than something else, because contrast is one of the best things for making things stand out and look proper 3D. Okay, I'm going back in here again with darker colour. It wasn't dark enough. So that's the thing with watercolour, you can just layer and layer and layer on top till you get the depth that you want. And I'll do the same over here. And the same over here. Now I do want to darken this side a little bit more than it is. The same with these. So they're not quite as dark as that side, but they're still darker than the front of the house. So I'm also going to add some bricks up into the chimney stacks. Okay, so the house doesn't look like it's floating in midair. I'll just draw some grass at the side here, and I'll just put a green wash in front of it there. Right, so I'll just put the green in there and wash all the way along there. I think that's the cat finally being fed in the kitchen now, since I was neglecting it. So that's just a light wash, and then I can go back in with slightly darker, and it will blend into the already wet green light wash. You don't have to do too much to get it to blend. There we go. Now I want to go back up to the chimney pot where I had too much paint and water on my brush and everything just bled. So I'm just going to go Oh, it's still wet. It's just not drying, this chimney. Anyway, I'll put some dark on it there, on this side of the chimney. Oh, I'm doing the same thing again. So it's not quite dry, that one. Over here, I'll just blend it with a clean wet brush. And over here, I'll try and rescue this again. I mean, the good thing is, because it's an old cottage I'm painting, then if you make mistakes like that, it doesn't really matter, because, you know, the cottage is brown, a bit messy, nothing's perfect. So I'm also going to go back along the top here to bring back that dark stretch that I had put in, like so. What else was I thinking? Yeah, the top of the windows here. So because they're recessed there, I just want to put a little bit of a shade along the top of the actual windows as well, and down the side. Like so, because the light wouldn't be hitting that, and there would be a shadow there from the lip of that. So there we have a very, very basic house. Now I put these bricks in just with the paint, without an outline. Let me see if it's still wet. That's okay. What I could have done was I could have drawn the bricks in first with the pen and then painted them in. So I can still do that afterwards as well, just to show you the difference. So there's our little house just now, and I can go back in and outline around these bricks as well. It's all a preference, you know, it's just whatever you would prefer to do. So if I cover my hand over that side, you can see what it looks like with the bricks with the pen round it. And see which one you prefer. I think I actually prefer it with the pen round it. So I'm going to carry on. I'm going to get another pen actually. This one doesn't seem to be working very well. This one's a fair bit thicker, so yeah, this is a number 0.3. The other one was 0.1, so this one is a fair bit thicker. You can see the difference in the lines. I actually prefer the thinner ones, but I'll carry on here anyway. So I need to stop calling these bricks as well, they're stones. You can see they're just big ollaks, as we call them. Okay, and there we have a very basic, cute little house. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will speak to you all soon. Okay, thank you, bye.